I could not. I paid $100,000 for my house and a good ass community. But y'all, I'd rather go back to America and deal with the racism in America before I sit here in Africa and deal with the bullshit bribery, the bullshit fraud, the bullshit scams, the bullshit too expensive, the bullshit not having no snacks, the bullshit not having no food, the bullshit electricity, the bullshit hot water, the bullshit what's that shit called that be coming down? The bullshit animals and scorpions outside the house. It's big ass spiders. It's big ass lizards.
Okay. Woo! We've heard enough. Now I'm going to put the link of this video. This is just a small snippet. I'll put the link in the description box. You can go look at it to your avail. If you want, watch the whole thing. But, you know, it makes me think about what is that parable in the Bible where I think it's in the book of Matthew. You should not put new wine into old bottles. Now, I'll let you dwell on that. You can go look that up. Many of you all who may be religious that study the book may know exactly what I'm talking about. The pouring of new wine into old bottles and how detrimental that is. But I'll get into this. You know, looking at this because I was able to watch much more than this snippet, and it really demonstrates how Negro is ostracized. I did a video maybe a year or two ago, and I said, where do black folks have to go? The ones that are of like-mindedness, that can see things for what they are. You can't go back to the hood. You know, you can't open, I mean, you can open up businesses in the neighborhood, but you risk losing your life. You risk loss of property. And then when Negroes want to go out into the suburbs or outskirts, you are looked at as that family, that black family on the block. And you get the proverbial stares of, what are you doing here? So black folks with sense, we're really left with nowhere to really go. It's the burden of success amongst a group of people who are a lot of downtrodden. You know, like I said in many of my videos, it's becoming it's a burden to be successful now. And I'm not talking about diamonds and pearls and Ferraris. I mean this basic stuff. Like having your own place at a certain age. If you're a 40-year-old man, if you're mid-30s, you know what? If you're 30 and up, a man, you should have your own place. I'm not talking 3,500 square foot, 4-bedroom home. But you should have a space that's comfortable to where you come home. It's a place of refuge for yourself. And if you're married, you damn sure should have your own place. But a single man, you should have, if you're 30 and up, you know, you should have your own place, brothers, guys. You should, guys of all the color spectrum, you should have your own place at that age. I know it depends on where you live at. San Fran, it's hard. I'm not talking about it. But if you, In the South, you should have your own place. There's no reason why you shouldn't have your own place at 30 years old, living in the southeast part of the United States. But yeah, where do we go? And the Negro is, I've talked about the back to Africa types. This lady is clearly not able mentally or financially, wasn't prepared to do that move. And there's people who promote the idea of going back to the motherland and setting up shop. And of course, not all will make it. And we see this here, and if you go and watch this video. Now, what's so interesting about this video? There's another clip in which she's not there alone. Her husband or boyfriend with their 6 kids decided to get up there and go to Africa and move permanently to Africa. Like I said, I've seen more of this clip than you all. You have to go back and and then you can get an understanding of what I'm talking about. But what was so interesting is her husband. She's doing all the talking. She's doing all the talking, all the politicking. And this brother's just sitting over there, typical, head down, looking, just looking real weak. Looking real weak and looking real like he's just going along for the ride. And I've talked about this in many videos, and where you see young black men in general, sitting in the passenger seat of a woman. She can be Hispanic, Caucasian, black, with the seat kicked back, with a Black and Mild in his mouth. And she's just toting him around. And see, this is the type, this is what we've been reduced to. Now, when I was speaking about these things, I wasn't aware as much as I am now about the feminist movement and trying to make men more effeminate, to tap into our more softer side. I wasn't as knowledgeable as I am now about that. I was speaking merely from personal experience. But now I'm able to bring all these things together and see why things are the way they are. And I've talked about the so-called black community is more matriarchal now because we have a lot of we don't have any quality in our so-called community in terms of men. And men who do step up, like myself, and say these things, we're shunned. It's reverse shame. It's disingenuous shame. And I did a video yesterday. I said shame is needed. But the disingenuous shame of saying the truth. Now, truth is subjective, but there's truth. This is truth. When I tell the so-called black community that a woman who is 21 years old, who is sagging her pants, who has decided to explore same sex in terms of relationship. See, you can't say that now in the so-called black community. Before, it was like, it wasn't no thing. It wasn't nothing to say. In the Caucasian community, you could, they were the ones where you couldn't say stuff like that. Well, we spoke freely. But now it's becoming distasteful and bullying, to say those things now in the so-called black community, where you can't even mention that. I remember I had old school my daddy's friends and old school uncles. They would regular sell. Yeah, this little punk over there. And old school, a punk was a guy that liked guys, or a bulldagger. Those words was used freely. You can't say that now. You can't say those things now. And I'm not advocating to say those things to people. What I'm saying is we see the evolution, the downward. I don't know if you can downward evolve. I mean, evolution is supposed to mean positivity, right? But we see the downward spiral, not only in American society, but in the so-called black community now. We've adopted a lot of these mainstream ways where they were just usually reserved to Caucasian people. You got black folks running around here talking about, I put my kid in timeout. What? You never heard black folks say that back in the day. You never heard black folks say that 20, 25 years ago. But now you got these black folks talking about, I put my kids in timeout. Now, the problem with that is, I spoke about Walter Wallace and his demise. And I don't downplay mental illness. Mental illness is real. But, I grew up, I got beat. Now, I didn't like to get beat. And I learned, I wised up real quick. Whereas a lot of my cousins, I just thought they liked to get beat. But this new age, and to bring it all home with this lady in Africa, I've said, look, we are not those people over there. And she even mentions it in another segment of the video in which she says the Africans, they're weak. Talking about physically weak, they're small. And I've heard people say that before. And I've met Africans. I went to school with Nigerians and Ghanaians or whatever you call them. And cool guys, they have that, but we just culturally different than them. And I've talked about how Hoteps and nuts and berry Negroes they are so looking to belong that they will go about and find out the hard way that just because we look like one another, we don't. And if you look at a lot of Africans, they look color-wise, but we're a different type of African in America. We are not the same as those. We may share, and I'm not even a science guy. I give you some bro science or something like that. But we're different. Now we can trace I know personally I could trace my lineage to Cameroon, in Benin. That's where my type goes from, the test I did. Even if that's real. Maybe they could have sent me some bullshit. I don't know. But the paper said, Togo, Benin, Cameroon. That's where your lineage goes back to, Painless, in terms of Africa. So I said, cool, go Cameroon. But, these Negroes, they are so amped on being accepted and longing for an identity. And you heard it here. She says she would rather come back to racism, brutality, than to deal with bugs, electricity, no snacks. And this is a heavy sister right here, which I thought was so funny. Why'd you even go over there anyway? You need to transform yourself. You should have did due diligence. And see, when you are so trying to be, I'm going for the cause, back to the motherland, You are putting old wine into new bottles. You need to transform yourself. You know, you Negroes going over to Africa with that same American Negro mentality that you have here. That ain't gonna work. And you know, I'm ex-military. I've been around the world, and you can spot Americans. You can spot them. And you know, she's like, I thought I was gonna be welcome here, and they just tried to scam me because they thought I had money. What the hell? What you thought this was Wakanda? You, huh? You thought you was gonna get red carpet treatment? And see, this is the immature outlook that many black folks that try to strive to be so identified. This is just another. These people ain't. What did you think? You thought you was gonna have a ceremony when you got off the plane? Welcome back, sister. No. So a lot of pro-black, they live in this fantasized, Wakandized they have this outlook on life, and it's false. It's false, and this is exactly what this lady experienced. And I've been talking about this for years. And now you want to come back to racism and brutality? Is it really that bad? And that just shows you, you know, people they're not ready. The Negro is not ready for change. I've said that there is no black agenda. We're too different. We're not homogenous. Africans are not homogenous. There's over 20 countries on the continent of Africa. Maybe I'm being conservative. Probably, I believe there's more. I'm there, but I don't have an exact number. But it's a very diversified area, like a continent. So I just found it funny. You know, you got pimp slapped by some Africans. You thought you were going to get red carpet treatment. You thought you were going to get notoriety, nobility. And then that brother, that husband, sitting there letting her do all the talking, really demonstrates the problem in the so-called black community. That is the problem in the so-called black community. I've said this time and time again. You guys out here raised by women like this are the reason why you're having occurrences like Michael Brown, Eric Garner, Walter Wallace, George Floyd. Because guys like in this clip who's sitting there and letting this woman do all the talking and all the babbling about nothing, her inability to make decisions. And I would go so far as to say, I bet you this Negro didn't make any decision. He's just along for the ride, like many of you black men are today. Just along for the ride, not doing what you're supposed to, twirling your dreads, looking all, can't look somebody in the eye, another man in the eye, can't converse, mumbling, stumbling. That's the issue. And some of y'all don't like to hear it, but guess what? This is my goddamn platform. You don't like it? Get on. But yeah, I'll put the link in the description box. I'm going to look at some more commentary before I log in. Painless out.